And it's February, so a lot of people are a fair way into their New Year's resolutions. Are there disappointments? Are there anticipations for the rest of the new year to continue with your New Year's? I'm ad-libbing this, I don't have a script, but I've got Chris here. We're going to talk about films.
Hi, Meghan.
And we're going to talk about disappointments and expectations. So on the disappointment side of films, we've been looking at some of the box office dips or that haven't done as well as people might have thought. So the first one I've got on my list is Jason Statham's Shelter, which only got $5 million in its open weekend compared to its $50 million budget. Have you seen that?
I have seen it. Now, I saw it on the weekend, and it's a guilty pleasure. I mean, all his films are the same. They're always the idea that there's family. He's estranged from family. First of all, he's this very taciturn, brusque person, but then he takes his niece under his wing and goes out to save her. So the arc is such a familiar one. And he's a special operatives person. He's retired, supposedly dead, and then he comes back for one last battle with the head of MI6. Do you know, it's a bit like, I saw a film in the 90s called Murder at 1600, actually, with everything, all the political stuff in the news. It feels very topical, the idea that there are shenanigans at the heart of power, and who do you trust? And it's not really all that different from that. So it's set in the UK, but it's one of those, it's kind of like a road movie, really. And along the way, he protects somebody, and then he gets rid of the bad guys who pose as the good guys. So there's a parable in there somewhere. There's an awful lot of violence as well.
You're speaking of it quite highly. Did it surprise you? Did you go in knowing it hadn't done very well in its opening weekend?
Well, I saw it on the opening weekend, and there weren't, when I arrived at the auditorium, it was just me. Then about half a dozen other people came in, so it wasn't packed. Although, if I'm honest, probably more packed than Melania, which has not done very well.
That is next on my list. It's like you read my mind, Chris. So that only made 33,000 at the UK box office. So do you think that's to do with the UK audience, maybe?
I think it is, although even in America and some of the parts of the States where you would imagine that that Trump is particularly successful, it hasn't done all that fantastically. And I've even heard stories of people who've been paying money for another film and then sneaking in knowing that it's a quiet screening because they're wary. But because there's a lot going on here when you've got a film about a politician who can be quite Marmite, and a lot of people are thinking, oh, do we want to pay our money to watch this? So it hasn't done very well, and I know people who have actively gone out of their way not to watch it, shall we say.
And I suppose it's interesting to have kind of a biopic when the figure is still alive and very much present. A lot of it we see Steve Jobs and Freddie Mercury, and they're not around anymore. Yeah,
and of course in those cases there's a lot of mythologizing based around the people, almost the disciples, if you like, the people who were around, who can say 30 years ago Freddie Mercury was this fantastic artist, but in present First Lady. It's like when Oliver Stone made a film about George W. Bush. While George W. Bush was still in office, people thought, hang on, normally you have to wait at least 5 years.
Yeah, and moving on from disappointment, sorry, that was a bad analogy I tried to draw together at the last second. Now we're looking forward, we've got some expectations for films that we might be seeing soon. So I've got here Rachel McAdams' return to screens in the new horror and comedy Send Help.
And guess what? I'm watching it at 8:30 tonight.
Oh, is it this one?
This is the opening day, yeah. I mean, Rachel McAdams, I remember The Notebook. That was one of her very first films, going back to, well, that was 2004. So, I mean, this looks really interesting because there's almost like a desert island setting, but it's workplace politics. What happens when you go with, like, the boss from hell or the employee from hell, depending on your point of view, and they're stranded together, and it looks like there's going to be an inversion of roles. Like, the more, like, she's put down in the office, but actually she's the one with the survival instinct when they're out in the wild.
Brilliant, yeah. And another one that I'm quite looking forward to is the one with Zendaya and Robert Pattinson in. Is that something that's on your radar?
Well, I will absolutely watch almost everything, but I mean Zendaya. I mean the tennis film that she did, Challenges.
Yeah, Challenges. That's the one.
Of the year, and of course she's been in Marvel films as well. So it's always nice to watch such a variety of different types of film, and Robert Pattinson as well, because we associate with the Twilight films and Batman. So they bring a lot of cinematic history along the way.
And those films, they're coming to us soon, much like the new episode of Kent Film Club. So what can we expect?
This is, well, they're all good, of course, but Dave Reed, who's a novelist, and he has a book out right now, and his films, I mean, you can check them off. Goodfellas, The Big Lebowski, there's a Monty
Classics.
Python film in there. I
Yeah.
mean, it's all the classics that you could ask for. So it's the kind of thing. Lots of like really good Seven, another one, psychological thrillers. And those sort of questions that deal with the darker side of humanity, should we say. But it's going to be a great chat.
Absolutely, yeah. Something to stay tuned for.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Pleasure.
We'll actually catch you in a moment on our screens.